2020. The time is 6:03 p.m. and I'd like to call this meeting of the Tewksbury Board of Health to order. Thankfully, we are still going remote given the weather that we have and the town offices are closed today. First on the agenda, actually before we go into the agenda, if we can just do a virtual roll call. So Chair Ray Barry's on the line.
Vice Chair Robert Scarano.
You can go, Maria.
Maria Zaroulis, clerk.
Tony Bichetti, board member.
Charlie Rue, board member.
Okay, and then from the health department?
President Sawyer, Health Director.
Shannon Sullivan, sanitarian.
Okay. And then Susan, are we waiting for Kevin tonight, or is he?
I texted him and just sent the link. When we talked to him yesterday, was it? Day before.
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah. So I did not speak to anyone today. So
Okay.
I do not know. But
so I guess that's it for the time being for town employees then. Okay. So moving on to the agenda, first item tonight is we have approval of minutes for a November 19th, 2020 meeting. Both Maria Zaroulis and I have had a chance to review the minutes, and what you see before you or was emailed to you represents the minutes as with my comments and Maria's. So do any members have any questions or comments or additions to the minutes as presented?
Vice Chair, no comments or questions.
Okay. Mr. Rue?
Nothing.
No comments or questions.
Okay. Hearing none, would someone like to make a motion to approve said meeting minutes as submitted?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 19th meeting.
Okay. And who'd like the second?
Vice Chair, a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. It's like a game show tonight. Okay. So Ms. Zaroulis put forth the motion. Mr. Scarano second the motion to approve the minutes of the November 19th, 2020 meeting as submitted. We will take a verbal roll call for vote. Vice Chair Scarano, yay or nay?
Yes. Yay.
Clerk Zaroulis?
Yay.
Dr. Bichetti?
Yay.
Mr. Rue?
Yay.
And chair votes aye as well, so motion carries unanimously 5-0. So the minutes are approved as submitted. Okay, moving on to new business. We have, first item for new business is new body art practitioner, Sean Marabito, Route 38 Tattoo, 2297 Main Street, just a meet and greet. So Sean, this is not an official matter where the board has to approve your request. We just like to know that any new body art practitioner or apprentice comes before the Board of Health just for a quick meet and greet.
Okay.
So welcome tonight. So
Thank you.
if you can just give us a quick background on yourself and your experience for the board, I would appreciate it.
Okay. I first started back in 2017, like in late December, and then I started working at Hood Inc. I believe it was a year or so after that, and then I was there for 2 years. And while I was there, I did like all my bloodborne, and I did a 10-hour online course for skin and my first aid and CPR and all that stuff. And then I moved from there to Todd, where November 1st I started with Wallace training, doing anatomy, physiology, bloodborne pathogen, skin, American Heart Association, and CPR. And I graduated that with an A. I've probably done over 1,000 tattoos like anywhere you could think on the body, I've probably tattooed it. That's kind of it for now.
Okay. And Todd, anything you want to add?
I want to,
Evening, everybody.
good evening, Todd. Good evening, Sean. Good luck. I only have one question because Todd's the owner of Route 38 Tattoo has shown that he's trying to promote the highest standard. So if he endorses you, Sean, that is great. But I do have one question. Are you mostly planning on just tattooing from below the neck down?
Yeah, I turned down any like neck tattoos or face tattoos or head tattoos.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's one of the big concerns I have because of, yeah, that's
more stress.
That's okay. That's,
about.
excuse me, my phone. I'm out of town right now and the connection's lousy. I apologize. Yeah, that's, are you comfortable with the infection control protocols in place at Todd's?
Yep. Comfortable in everything.
Okay, well, that's, that's my biggest thing, that you follow Todd's. Todd's been an established services provider in the area for a number of years, and it's proven that he's done a good job with that. So I have no issues with anything with Sean right now, as long as you're following what Todd's protocols are, Sean. That's great with me.
Yep, of course.
Okay, so Todd, anything you want to add?
No, I will say Sean is very, very humble man, and I'm very excited to have him here. Everything that I present to him, he's just takes it all in stride, and one of those guys that comes at one of those persons that come around very few that don't come around often, that pretty much just appreciates everything.
Okay. Any of the board members have any questions or comments?
Vice Chair has none.
Mr. Rules?
No, I don't have any questions. I just wish you the best of luck, Sean.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Rue?
Do you believe in Santa?
I do.
He's fired if he doesn't.
I have no problem here.
We asked some hard questions, Sean, so we should have forewarned you.
Okay. I didn't know. I should have been more prepared.
That's a good answer. Good.
Well, I guess I speak for the board. Best of luck with Todd. Going to be working for a good establishment owner. He's been good working relations with the health department, so we all appreciate that. And best of luck in town.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you
very much.
Happy
Hey,
holidays.
everybody have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. Enjoy
You too,
the
Todd.
weekend. Thank you.
You too, Todd. You as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next new item. Status of food establishment permit renewals not received by December 1st, 2020.
Okay.
Before I go, well, Cracker Barrel, Dollar Tree, Knights of Columbus is a nonprofit, Saffron, which is currently closed, and French's Catering. Director Sawyer, if you could just briefly, for those that are not aware, what's with the permit date and why are we having people come before us tonight?
Sure. And there's also been a change since last year. Last year, the board changed the policy, which was any food permit application incomplete that was received after 30 days prior to expiration, which is what's in the food code. We were multiplying it every day. So you pull and the next day and the next day, and could add up if you ended up on, say, December 10th. So we've been trying to change the date to December 1st for about 5 years now. So I think most people are used to it. So we do have these few that were not able to get their applications in on time. So what you voted last year, I'm sorry, was that now it's just double. So after December 1st, the fee that you've been given, which is based on the risk of your establishment, risk level, so that is doubled after that date. We send out the renewals in reminders in October, and then Lisa follows it up with email and generally a phone message. And on the very last day, the local one, she actually emailed directly in with the statement stating, if you get here by 4 o'clock today, it will not be an issue. Please come down. Of course, people who are, it's coming from corporate, that doesn't help them too much. So far, actually, Raytheon has already paid double, so they're not on the list, but these other ones haven't actually. Some are probably in now, but Cracker Barrel said it was in the mail, but I don't know if it didn't have the double fee, they will be double feed. So we're not chasing them right now. Their permit expires on December 31st, in which case, as of January 1st, they do not have a valid permit to operate. So on January 2nd, these establishments could end up closed if they didn't, even if they didn't apply or pay the fees. So that's what they're subject to.
Okay, I guess two other points of information. One is that you and Shannon have been a little hobbled this week because your office, as well as the building department and community development, have had to work remotely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I may be a little disheveled. Obviously, we're working extremely hard. We are having a difficult time keeping up. I'm trying to bring on some new volunteers and such, and then working from home just made it more difficult.
So I will update you on one of those 5 entities that has not renewed. Knights of Columbus. I guess, and just for full disclosure, I am a member of the Knights of Columbus, but not a member of the board. I was speaking with a past board member about this in a different matter there, and come to find out, Susan, that the person I had spoke to last week that should be the one handling the permit is actually out sick. So the person I dealt with was a past Grand Knight there, and he is going to speak with the others to make sure that that permit application that I forward to him gets signed. So that should be, and I'll just reiterate with him that it needs to be done this week or next.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
And that is a nonprofit. So nonprofits on our fee schedule have a $0 value. So there is no doubling, or I guess we could double the no fee, but it'd still be no fee. But it's more of the matter is we just need to make sure that we have that signed permit renewal to the department before January 1st. So I will make sure that they're able to do that. Now we did have
their serve safe, they submit their up-to-date things. So this is our way of making sure they have the proper certifications, insurances and such. So not just the application.
Right. Well, I'm glad you mentioned it because it is a complete packet and everything that's required is listed on that permit renewal form, correct?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
So there is no confusion about what needs to be submitted as a complete packet. And unless it's complete packet submitted, then it does not constitute a permit renewal, correct?
Right. We won't issue it until we receive everything. I did list, there's probably more of some others that maybe are missing, maybe an updated serve safe or a choke save or something like that. We're not, sometimes it's just that time of year, it's time to do those things. So we would, but we're holding it until we get them. So.
Okay. And then the last one was French's Catering. We have David French here tonight. Anything you want to mention in that, Susan, before I have David introduce himself?
Just that Lisa you know, did the exact same, what I processed, I said earlier, the day of when it was due, she did email Mr. French, that, you know, need to come down or it will be double tomorrow. He did not come down until the next morning. And I told him that I was unable to process it. He did provide a check for $300, which is his risk level, which is risk level 2 is $300. So I noted that to him that it was double because of $600, and that, you know, other people had been late and they will be paying double as well. And he basically, he said, well, what's my options? And I said, well, you can request to come before the board. So here he is tonight, and I want to thank David. I had forgotten to invite him. He's just gotten the invite not a half an hour ago. So thank you for showing up, David. I really appreciate your flexibility.
Not a problem.
And the last question for you, Director Sawyer. Besides the check, did Mr. French bring in the other required documentation?
So my brain is not here. It's at work. I'm trying to recall. I believe we had to. Do you still owe your insurance certificate, Mr. French?
Coming from the binder. Binder's coming from the insurance company. Everything's together. I just gotta get it over to you. But we're gonna wait till the meeting.
I believe I think we just got the single paper, and then I think Lisa went into the file and pulled out a couple of items.
She said that my CPR wasn't current, but it is current. It's she kind of messed up the expiration dates, so we're all set on that. Yeah.
Okay. So at the moment, on the day late, it was not fully complete, right? Was the answer to?
Right.
Okay, so you're coming before Mr. French tonight for what specific purpose?
I didn't have the money to pay it. That's why I was late with it. And
Okay.
you know what's going on with everything else, and double us when we're not even making enough money to pay our bills. So I, see what you guys think, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I will make my comments and I'll open up to the other board members. I think that given everything that's happening this year with COVID, with the hit that restaurants and catering firms have had with COVID, Lights at Columbus is another example where they've not been able to have functions, so they had to let go of the function manager, who was also the person that would normally be taking care of renewing their food establishment permit. So I think that, at least of my opinion, I'm not speaking for the rest of the board, I would say that COVID-19 this year poses extenuating circumstances. So I would myself not look to double the fee as long as you can get everything in as quick as you can. And we're also sort of hobbled by the fact that the health department is having to work remotely through until part of next week. So it's tough when you don't have access to everything in your files or things that are coming in and being submitted to the town hall. So I think the combination of both in this case is we just need to say extenuating circumstances would dictate that we would not be warranted to have the fine doubled this year. But that would be just for this year.
Yep.
So I open it up to other board members for comments.
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman.
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, but I just would hope that people still, actually there was probably more time people had to get things done, but due to the circumstances, I agree for this particular instance. But I am always disappointed that things aren't done in a timely fashion for businesses. It is troublesome, but I'm okay with it right now. And I apologize, the connection's kind of fading in and out, so I'm not sure if I'll be able
Okay.
to hear you still. But
No, we heard you loud and clear.
Okay, good.
And Mr. Scarano, Mr. Rue, any comments? Or...
Mr. Scarano would comment that I think when we were entertaining this double fee, it was for willful neglect without any of the extenuating circumstances that my fellow board members have mentioned. I certainly have empathy for anyone that's struggling in this environment. I would echo the sentiment of the other board members, and I would support the waiver of the double fee in this matter.
Okay, and Mr. Rue?
I would agree with what you, Mr. Scarano, said regarding the extenuating circumstances, and I would hope that things square away here sooner than later on the governmental side of things so that David can make a living for himself. I'm not at all in favor of what the governor's doing with this stuff, but you've heard that before too, so
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So I guess in this case, we should probably make a motion to waive the doubling of the permit renewal fee in this instance for Mr. French, and given the circumstances.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I think maybe it might behoove us just to make a couple of findings of fact relevant to the particular circumstances here. And I would make a motion with the findings of fact that the circumstances presented by David this evening would warrant a waiver of the doubling of the fine, and I move that the fine doubling be waived.
Okay, and we're willing to second the motion?
I'll
second.
the motion. Well,
Okay.
Third, whatever.
We did game show buzzers for this. Okay. So Mr. Scarano put forth the motion, Mr. Rule second the motion to, in this specific instance, waive the doubling of the permit renewal fee. And we'll take a roll call vote, yea or nay vote. So Vice Chair Scarano,
Yay.
Clerk Zeroulas,
Yay.
Dr. Bichetti,
Yay.
Mr. Rue,
Yay.
and Chair votes aye as well. So the motion carries unanimously, 5-0. Okay. And Mr. French, I certainly hope that 2021 is going to be a better year for you and your business.
We all do.
Unfortunately, we get a lot to go through, and we will come back out on the other end. Just best of luck for next year.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
But with that, Mr. French, make sure that you still make sure that everything is submitted to the department in time for or before January 1st.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next item for new business is body art regulation. We've been,
Chairman,
yes.
I just want to note, or whether or not you want a motion, anyone else who is not renewed, I can't refund the money to Raytheon. They didn't ask for it. They were very unhappy to pay it, believe me. It's a large number. But we have those few others, very few, but did you want to consider that, or only if they ask?
I would say only if they ask, and in the past, we know we've had corporate holders have a hard time getting checks from corporate, and one last year did wind up paying double the fee. I think unless they come before us with a valid extenuating circumstance, then the penalty should stay as is.
Okay.
And then
thank you very much.
Saffron, as we talked, if they're currently closed, I guess it's more trying to
It's gonna
find
be a-
out, are they planning opening
Yeah, that-
next year?
I don't know. We haven't heard.
It looks pretty
They were
dark
open.
there.
What do you think?
It looks pretty dark there. I don't know if they are gonna open.
We've heard some, the word is some are in hibernation. Some places are going to close for a month and, you know, just pay their rents and go do something, or because it's very hard now. Most people have, you know, the mom and pop, and they all their employees go. Some of them just want to take some time, and they're not making the money, and so you may see that happen. Hopefully they'll advertise well if they do choose that, so that people can be excited when they come back. But I won't say who. Someone did mention it to me, but I won't mention it because we don't know if they're going to do it. So
I'd say we just handle them on a. I think we just handle those on a case-by-case basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we would treat anyone who closes. We would make sure that it's safe to reopen. They wouldn't just reopen. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I just got a text from Mr. Feely just saying he's actually shoveling out his parents. He could if we can give him a 5-minute warning, he could log in, he said. So, where are we? Are we
My
at a 5-minute
connection
warning?
is fading out. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I would say, right, we could do, discuss the body art, and then we can give him a.
Yeah, I think it'd be good just if he could come in and warm up and be on the phone for us for a couple minutes.
So I can tell him it'll probably be 10 minutes
Yeah, it should be.
discussion over this, maybe less. I'll just give him a
It should be
5-minute
far
count.
less. I think it's like a 2-minute item.
What he says when I say, here's your 5-minute warning.
And then I can cover the other one because they're not going to be here tonight. So.
Yes. Well,
yeah.
We could always go through quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
And then in terms of the body art regulation, back in a September meeting, we had voted on a motion to continue to suspend the, pull it up, to approve a moratorium on new body art applications other than tattoo only until the end of the calendar year. Since COVID is still front and foremost, we've not had any chance to make any motion on this. Talking with Director Sawyer, I think the best thing is we just look to extend the moratorium until the state is no longer in the state of public health emergency as it relates to COVID-19, because at that point, then things should start becoming back to normalcy. But until then, I think there are enough other things that need to be focused on that we should just continue that moratorium until such time. So I'm open to discussion on that.
Vice Chair has no comments.
Any other board members?
No, I think we should continue it until at least March is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't. We've been doing it for 3 months, and I just thought tying it to the end of the public health emergency, just so we don't have to keep potentially renewing this. And we can always end it sooner.
Well, if there's no other comments, I'm going to make a motion to continue the moratorium until the governor's emergency is lifted.
Okay. Thank you for that motion. Anyone willing to second the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Oh, everyone's gun shy to second. Okay. So motion's been put forth and second to Continue the moratorium and new body art applications other than tattoo only until the end of the public health emergency. All those will signify by stating aye. We'll take a roll call vote. So Vice Chair Scarano,
Yay.
Clerk Zeroulis,
Yay.
Dr. Bichetti. Looks like he dropped out. And Mr. Rue.
Right.
Okay, chair votes aye as well, so that motion carries unanimously 4-0. And we'll just state for the record that Dr. Shetty's cell phone call dropped somewhere during our discussion of that item. Okay. And did you get any feedback from Mr. Feely, Director Sawyer?
I did not yet.
Okay. So we had 2 hearings scheduled for tonight. I'm going to take them out of order just because one is not going to be present tonight. We had Lodge at Ames Pond, 1 Ames Hill Drive, request for appeal hearing on a written warning issued regarding violations to the governor's order number 31, mandating the wearing of facial coverings. And they were going to be represented by a law firm. The lawyer representative was unable to attend tonight's meeting, so she asked if their hearing could be continued till the January meeting. So is there anything you want to mention, Director Sawyer, about this one? Because this would be these 2 hearings would be the first ones we had regarding enforcement actions of the governor's regulations.
I'll just say, by the way, he's jumping on now, so he'll be
Okay.
on in a minute as well. I'll just say that we have, as you know, received complaints in various areas of businesses and different places around town. Shannon and I have used the same tactic of education, reaching out by phone generally, then sending them all the information that's related to the particular complaint. This was a repeat complaint. The person, a rental person who, made this complaint actually spawned us to reach out to all the rental rental properties in town so that they could put up, all kinds of information. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So it should continue. So it went to a different level. So it ended up in writing this warning. Actually, it was just a warning letter, and they have appealed the warning. So that's all I can say right now. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
I would recommend that we don't take any testimony on any of the matters that aren't before us this evening or anyone requesting a continuance. If that's the case, as it relates to facts, I would have the proponent be here for any recitation of facts.
Sorry if I added a couple facts. Didn't mean to.
No, that's and I'm just saying
okay,
that
Yep, no, that's all for now. Mr. Feely's saying, he's saying he's on now.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Kevin.
There he is.
Good evening, Attorney Feely.
Hello, everyone. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, that's fine. I was doing the same thing but my house right before the meeting starts, so. Okay. So for the hearings, we have East Celebrity Elite, 1500 Shawsheen Street. Request appeal of a citation issued December 3rd, 2020. Violation of the travel order and failure to abide by quarantine requirements. Represented by Roach, Ionaditis, and Megalotis, LLC attorneys at law. So just for the record, if we could just have those folks that are on the call tonight just to identify who you are that are on here for this hearing.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Megaloudis, and I represent East Celebrity Elite Gym.
Okay. And is there you the sole person that's representing them tonight? Is there anyone else?
Cassie Bienvenue is also here. She is a principal of East Celebrity Elite. She's here as well.
Okay.
Hello. Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay. So I don't know, Director Sawyer or Shannon, who wants to give the intro on this?
Do it. This will be Shannon Sullivan. Okay, so you're on, Shannon.
All right. So, starting of November, we started to get complaints about the cheerleading gym. First, it started with parents weren't wearing masks. So at that time, I had reached out to the gym. I left a voicemail and an email stating the complaint that we got. It was just like a verbal warning at that point. Then about like a week later, we get another complaint from another parent whose kid goes to the gym saying that they're breaking the travel order and all these other sports violations according to the COVID guidance. At that point, it was a lot, so I sent it to DLS, the Department of Labor Standards, who has been partnering with us during this pandemic to help us out. They kind of bounced it back to us locally. So at that point, I had reached out. There's an email thread from DLS to the owners of the gym, and the gym responded in writing as well to the items that were addressed in that email. And at that time, this was the middle of November, we were being made aware that bordering states were getting added to the travel order, which we weren't sure at that point, but I had just I had said it in an email to the gym just so they're aware that once bordering states are on the high risk, you have to abide by the travel order. So then let's see, and then December hits and we got 2 complaints forwarded us from DLS from a parent whose child attends the gym stating that they're still breaking the travel order, and this has been in effect since November 21st. So at that time, they should be abiding by the order. And we were speaking back and forth with DLS because we said we needed some sort of proof that this was happening. So December 2nd, I was in that area of the gym around 5 p.m. and I did see multiple cars coming out of the parking lot with New Hampshire plates. I saw one Connecticut, and yes, there are other businesses in there. So I go to work on the 3rd and I get an anonymous complaint from a Tewksbury resident who also lives off Shawsheen, saying that they see multiple cars every night coming in and out of the gym from New Hampshire. And I mean, they see it every night. I saw it once. So at that point, I found that there was enough proof to send a written warning with a $300 fine as they were breaking the travel order. Then I spoke with Cassie after she received the travel order, the written warning that I had sent. And then December 7th and 8th, I received 2 calls from 2 New Hampshire residents whose children attend the gym and asking us questions on how to abide by the travel order. So the second call, I asked what had changed since this has been in effect since November 21st, that they need to abide by the travel order. And I was told that there's been some changes at the gym. So that's where, and then we got the appeal. So here we are.
Okay. Okay, so thank you for that. And Director Sawyer, anything to add to that?
No, I don't. That's not the step.
Okay. So what has the, I guess we have now before us a request to appeal the citation. So I'd like to hear from the parties interested in repealing the citation.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. So we're here appealing the citation just on the basis of the citation itself, which the citation involved breaking of the travel order and allowing individuals to attend the gym in high-risk states. They're not, as it's stated, and then the citation goes, they're not abiding by the quarantine or negative test results to attend the gym in Massachusetts. So just addressing this particular this violation as it's been cited. The gym wants to let the board know that they are not breaking the travel order, that they understand that this is something, and to be clear, this came about, you know, very recently, and all this information was coming as everybody, you know, as it unfolded, and with all this information, there were individuals who were and are residing in New Hampshire. So when this information came out, it was a huge hardship to figure out how does the gym go about complying with it. And so when this was found out, they did make changes. It didn't happen, you know, after the fact. There was confusion about how to do it. Specifically, they were told, and I know that there were communications with Ms. Sullivan, with Cassie, about what needed to be done. So it was relayed that in order to be in compliance with the order, you needed to fill out a Massachusetts travel form. That was a requirement that was being alleged that wasn't being enforced by the gym. The reason why the parents were calling, they had called the gym initially. What had happened is that the form doesn't apply to individuals under the age of 18. And it says that right at the top. So with regard to the contention that they weren't complying by the travel order, they're trying to comply, but they didn't know that they needed to fill out a form. There are families that are testing. So to take the other point that the board, the Ms. Sullivan had indicated, was that there were cars that were observed in the parking lots with out-of-state plates. There are staff members who have out-of-state plates, and initially this was discussed about how they are exempt from the travel order. They are permitted to come back and forth. And initially, I don't believe that even Ms. Sullivan was aware of that, and Cassie had to explain that and say they are exempt. But so there will be out-of-state plates. There are 5 families from New Hampshire who are coming from New Hampshire, and they are subjecting to the testing requirements. So getting back to the point that breaking the gym is breaking the travel order and allowing individuals to attend the gym that live in high-risk states, that's not a violation of the travel order. You can come to Massachusetts, you just have to comply. And the gym submits that they are in fact doing that. With regard to, there are individuals that since this order came in place, they're now testing, if they're not testing, and these 5 individuals there are 44 other families who are now attending the gym. There's a sister sort of gym in Londonderry, New Hampshire. So they have now, and they are now, since this order came in effect, they are now attending practices over there. So with regard to the Department of Labor, they did send out an inquiry and they opened up matters. It's our understanding, and we received email confirmation, and we can provide that. I don't know. I tried to follow the email thread. I don't know if Ms. Sullivan has it, but that's been closed. I think that's been confirmed in an email, and we can provide that. So that doesn't change the fact that we have to, and we understand that we and the gym intends to comply with all of the other regulations and enforcement and the authority of this board to oversee everything. But just wanted to address that. With regard to the prior warnings and the escalation of how we got to this point, the parents making complaints about allegations and whatnot, parents, as everybody else, having to deal with this pandemic, were taken off guard by this travel order that they signed up for a travel, for a gym, not having this restriction, and all of a sudden have this requirement that they have to comply with. It was a huge burden. This entire pandemic has been a huge burden. And the lengths that, and the E-Celebrity Elite wants the board and the board of Tewksbury, Health of Tewksbury to understand that they're doing everything they can in order to make sure that their athletes have a safe environment. And that goes to the extraordinary lengths that they have taken to clean the gym. They close down the gym in order to make sure that all of the requirements are met, that that anytime there's a positive test, they turn around and they make sure that, that everybody on the team is quarantined. If there's a doubt, the entire team is quarantined. And then I believe that there was, just today, there was, I believe Cassie spoke with Ms. Sawyer about an instance where the whole team was quarantined because there was a positive test result. I think the numbers, I don't know if we can do this because we want to just show for transparency purposes. And this isn't a situation where the gym is trying to hide anything. Is there a way that I can share? I'm not too familiar with this. I'm actually more familiar with Zoom, so I'm not. Is there a way I can share a document on this in this format to present? I don't know. If I hit share, will that pull up the document?
Right.
I think Brian has to enable that, but you should be able to share your desktop.
Can I do that? Well, I clicked it, and if I cut everything off, I apologize. Okay, it came up. Okay. So in preparing for today's hearing, I just wanted to go forward and say, so the gym here has 610 athletes that attend E-Celebrity Elite that are in their all-star cheers. And there are about 350 athletes who are involved in private lessons. You add on with the 20 staff, there are a total, since June 8th, there were, through December 12th, there were approximately 44,690 check-ins. And since that time, there were a total of 5 cases where athletes tested positive within the last 48 hours. That's, the infection rate is 0.01%, which, in this day and age, I don't think anybody can dispute the fact that this has been a monumental burden on everybody in just making sure that everything is safe for the athletes. And this is what the gym is, and I think based on those statistics alone, the gym wants everybody to know that they're doing their absolute best to deal with the circumstances and are doing a good job. I mean, I think from this board's perspective, in wanting to make sure that that everybody's being safe, the gym is doing a good job with that. The travel order is, and I don't know the answer to this, so I looked it up, and there is nowhere where we could find that the travel order is an obligation that's put on businesses. If you look at the travel order on site, it specifically says all individuals who are coming from New Hampshire have to comply with this. Now, that's not to say that as a business owner in Tewksbury, you can't make sure that people are complying with this, but they did require everybody, are you testing? And if you're not, then you have to go to Londonderry. And that was something that was made very clear to them. Whether they chose to violate it at first and now they took it seriously, who knows? But the complaints that were coming in were complaints from families living in New Hampshire who were candidly frustrated that they had to now do these, either quarantine, not quarantine, either they had to test or they had to be in New Hampshire. They felt that this obligation, that the governor's orders were actually quite burdensome. Now, we can say whether that's fair or not and whether it should be in place, but the orders are the orders. And the gym said, those are your options. So if people were upset because they found this to be too burdensome and wanted their money back, I think there was some reference to that about one of them said that they wanted to get all of their money back. So there was a financial component to these complaints. But if there was a request to just state and say how many, which individuals, what license plate numbers, that could have been cross-referenced right away because the staff members can verify what out-of-state license plates that they have. And the individuals who are testing, and they're doing that and they're making sure with the gym that they are in fact doing the testing requirements. And that's being met. So I think that just from an enforcement perspective, as a gym, to state that they're violating the travel order by allowing people to come from New Hampshire doesn't accurately capture this. And it's a very high bar to ask a business to say, you're responsible for knowing where everybody comes from if they enter into your business. I mean, I think if it's a question of if this is going to be enforced by the Board of Health, then you would have to ask the same thing from Restaurant Depot. If how many people from New Hampshire do you have that come into your business? So we can state that with respect to this violation, that they were not in fact violating it, and I think that they've taken great lengths to make sure that the gym is operating in a safe manner. I think the numbers speak to that, having 5 cases since June when it opened. And, just to come before the board and say that they've always had a great relationship. They've never been in violation before. And ask that, at least with respect to this, this violation, that it be rescinded. And happy to answer any questions that the board has.
This is Cassie. I wanted to make just a couple of statements. I think that one of our biggest concerns as a gym is that since the travel order went into effect, we started receiving emails with information that, as a business owner, we would simply never know. To give you an example, I had multiple emails from customers who are Massachusetts residents, but they own businesses in New Hampshire and their vehicles are registered to their place of work. So they actually felt that they could no longer come and drop off their kid, even though it's just the car. They live in Mass. I have a bunch of people who have, I believe it's 15 or so families that are in shared custody situations where one parent lives in New Hampshire, one lives in Mass, and that child is exempt. So there's another 15 vehicles that are out of state. I think I have 12 out of state staff. The gentleman that owns I'm one of 8 tenants. The gentleman that owns the business that next door to me, his whole staff is from New Hampshire. We share the same parking lot. I had a couple people email because they're Mass residents. They have younger children, some of which are remote. They've had to go outside for childcare. So they may have a guardian, a grandmother, a babysitter who visits their house on a daily basis and transports the child to their activity. But that person, maybe they're from New Hampshire or somewhere else, which they're also exempt if it's for childcare. I actually had 3 parents last week. One was from Texas. I looked in my own parking lot. I had 3 parents last week completely panicking because their vehicles were in the shop. One had a Texas plate, one had a North Carolina plate, and I don't know what the other one was, but clearly someone is not commuting twice a week from Texas to Massachusetts to do cheerleading. So the problem is my fear is if the standard is, hey, we drove by your lot and we saw some out-of-state plates, then we're just going to get the same violation every night because there are legal out-of-state plates sitting in that lot and there's nothing we can do about it. It's created pandemonium with people, you know, not knowing what to do. In regards to Shannon's comment about the people calling and evidencing that we weren't following the travel order before, I actually gave those people the Board of Health's number. They weren't asking questions about the travel order, which they were abiding by. They were having difficulty filling out the travel form because it was for a minor and we were told they had to, but the Department of Labor actually told me that it's not applicable to them if they're a minor. So there was confusion and they were clarifying the form, not the order. So we just don't know how to proceed. I can't very well, I'm not willing to tell Massachusetts residents who, for some reason, legally have an out-of-state vehicle that they can't come in the parking lot because they're not violating anything. We have the 5 people testing. We have the other students in Londonderry. We ask, like every other business, a series of questions when these people come in. Do you have any COVID symptoms? Have you been exposed to COVID? Have you violated the travel order? And if they answer no to all of those questions, I, as a business owner, I need to take them at their word. I can't pull them out to the parking lot and give them the 3rd degree. And I just, in general, feel like we happen to have 6 locations. And obviously we've, at this point, because of COVID, we've built a relationship with the Board of Health in all 6 of them. And we're just really struggling in Tewksbury because we feel like instead of someone coming to us and saying, hey, if we got a complaint, can you answer it to us? There's no investigation done. It's just, you violated it. And we have no way to, you know, if someone told me what car, I could tell you why the car is exempt, but no one will do that. It's just, well, we saw them, so you're in violation. And it's simply not accurate. Lastly, this is competitive sports. And unfortunately, I think that most businesses do not generally piss off, for lack of a better word, their customers on a regular basis, but I do. The kid that was in the front is moved to the back. The kid that was here is demoted a team. And these parents are very, very competitive. So it is not surprising to me that a parent from within my program would pick up the phone and make a complaint. Just because they said it didn't mean we did it. Oftentimes that person is angry because their child isn't the superstar. So I don't have a solution for that. And my main reason for being here isn't necessarily being upset over getting a fine. It's how to stop this from continuing, because these cars are going to be there on a regular basis. I feel like someone could say, if a complaint is made, okay, can you show me the car? Then simply give us a call or shoot us an email, and we can provide a reason as to why that car was there legally and not violating the order.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a couple comments right now. Do you have a moment? You guys hear me? Or am I too, can't hear you, so.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So just a couple of comments. If you're curious as to how many fines this department has given out, I can tell you it is 2. We're very business friendly, as our board knows. Shannon did document the numerous conversations and emails that she did reach out to you with Kathy. The thing is, some of these, I understand that there are a lot of kids there, and it's pretty scary to the parents. One of the complaints was, my child sees how many kids are in there and wondering why I can't go to school, but all those kids get to go in. So I guess I'm also wondering, I know you're a very large facility. Could you explain the square footage of the facility?
Yep.
Or percentage, just to get how big it is, because this is a lot.
Yeah, I don't off the top of my head know the square footage. It's probably, it's different because there's actually 4 competitive floors. I do know, I can tell you that we're at 40% capacity, right? So our normal capacity in our main gym, just the main gym, there's an auxiliary gym next to it that we've only had for, I guess, just roughly a year. That we just took over another space. Anyway, The capacity in the main gym at any given time is 225. So 40% of that is 90 in that gym right there. And then I have upstairs offices. Then I have a second gym. In general, the capacity is obviously higher than 90. I'm not sure of the exact number in the other space. We just decided to not go above 90 because we know that that's under 40. So 90 right now is our max. It used to be just significantly more. We would practice our teams more. There would be, at any given time, the way the gym is set up with the 4 floors, no one is in the middle floor. So there would be a team at one far end of the gym, another team at the other end, and then one team in the additional space, which is a whole, it has doors, it's not even connected. So essentially what happens is, even though there are a lot of students, no team of kids has any contact with any other team, nor are we in a competition season where we come in contact with any competitor. So these same children travel here twice a week, and they're with the same group of kids. And then within their team, that team is broken down into groups of 10. It's usually a little bit less than 10. And each group of 10 is kept 14 feet away from the other group of 10. So in other words, what would happen is, if someone were to test positive, instead of having to quarantine, if there was 25 kids on a team, I would only really have to do the group of 10 that they're in. And fortunately, it's usually 5 or 6 actually. So that's been a little helpful. But it's definitely over 20,000 square feet for sure. And there's no more than 90 people at any given time. There's more than 90 people in the course of a day, but one group may be in for 2 hours, then they leave. We do have staggered beginning and end times, and we use separate entries and exits so those kids don't pass each other. And then lastly, in a normal year, my building would be open to their parents and their guardians. There is no one allowed in the gym outside of the students and the staff. Any communication with parents is completely remote. And obviously at all given times, 100% of the people inside are wearing masks. So, and we're doing our best. I think Susan knows because I had spoke to her. We did have 2 cases last week unrelated to one another, but we shut the gym and we hired a professional cleaning company to come in, and, we didn't have to do that. We just felt it was the right thing to do. So I do think we're being very transparent. I think we're being very proactive, and it's just frustrating because we have sort of alienated many of our customers. Now we're further alienating customers who have every right to be there and are frightened to go because they have the wrong license plate.
And just one more question. I know that Shannon sent a letter requesting some documentation regarding your keeping of records of people who agree with that request.
So I can speak to that. So we sort of are compiling everything. We got the request this week, and with everything going on, obviously things are taking a little bit longer. We can provide the information, and again, if this information had been requested, we'd almost sort of hope that we would have the gym would have had this would have been requested before the violation had issued. But we are where we are. Getting proof of quarantine that is being or proof that there's quarantining for negative days or negative COVID test results. The staff can provide, the gym can provide, what they have. The staff is doing this, and the gym is keeping those records, and we can provide those. The list of the gym attendees, that sort of is problematic for me in a couple of ways. And again, this is just, we can provide the addresses, but there's a lot, these are all minors, and just from a legality standpoint, we don't have waivers, or we don't have any releases from any of these parents to start. A lot of these rosters have a lot of sensitive information. So we can get that information to you, but obviously in the format that it was received by me, I just have concerns about, turning over a bunch of this information with a lot of confidential information. But we understand what the board is looking for in terms of, who's out of state and who's not. So we can get to that. We just have to revise or redact some of this information. The completed travel order forms from those New Hampshire athletes who attended the gym since New Hampshire was deemed a high-risk state on November 21st. It's the second requirement. I think we spoke to that earlier. Parents are having a hard time. The website, it's a form on a website that you submit through the website. And the parents are and that's why they were calling the gym saying, hey, I'm trying to complete this form and I can't fill it out. And that's when the gym was then referring all the calls to Shannon saying, we can't fill these forms out because the top of the form says all individuals over the age of 18. So we just can't provide that because that's not that form doesn't apply. So again, just wanted to draw the distinction is that it's not a violation of the travel order to have people from New Hampshire attend the gym. And that's the basis for this appeal. And also just to reiterate and say, they're abiding by it and they're doing what they can and that they're complying with everything. And just to sort of monitor license plates when there's a perfectly good reason and that there is compliance is not a way to police it. If there's any question or any inquiry, the gym wants to work with the town and do like it has been doing and reporting and making sure that they're running a safe business for everybody. So we can get you what we have, but we're not going to be able to provide everything, I guess is the bottom line.
I have a question. I'm not quite sure exactly who would be best to answer it, though. I know, Cassie, you said you have multiple families coming from out of state to use the gym in Tewksbury. And part of the travel orders is that they need to be tested before coming to the gym. So how often are these families from New Hampshire coming to Massachusetts? Are they being tested on a weekly basis? Is that the norm? Twice a week?
Twice a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And to put it in perspective so everybody understands, I believe that we have 600, I don't know what the sheet said, it's a little over 600 students. 52 of the 600 were from out of state. So just to put it in perspective, 44 of those 52 have relocated and are no longer attending practices in Tewksbury. They're attending practice I'm fortunate that I have a gym in New Hampshire for them. Three of those people are staff members. We have one team in the whole gym, which is an adult team, and I have some staff that is also on it. Those staff members are exempt because they work there every day. Then I have 5 who are testing, the question that you just asked, 5 families who are testing twice per week because they don't want to do the Londonderry option. So will they do that for the duration of the ban? I don't know. It depends how long it's there. They might get tired of it real soon and say, we don't want to test the children. Fortunately, they did, I think in reality, the 5 that are testing, for the most part, their families are in healthcare and they have easy access to a test and a system where they don't have to, it's not crazy where they have to schedule a million appointments. They just bring their child to work and they work in a healthcare facility, I think. But still the problem is outside of these 52 people, there is still people that are not in these 52 who are just, they have out-of-state vehicles. So I don't know, that is the problem I don't know how to tackle. I certainly can't stand in the parking lot for 6 hours a day and monitor the license plates, but someone might drive, I might not even know about it, right? Think about it, in a normal day, if you were running a business, you would have no way, you would never know that your customer's car was in the shop and they were driving a rental. I'm actually spending 90% of my time on these kind of issues instead of what I once did, to be quite honest. So that's my problem. I guess what I'm asking for is a better line of communication so that, and an understanding that we do have some families who will complain. So the complaint comes in, I think that the first step should be reaching out to one of us, getting the opposite side of the story. And then, you know what, if I can't provide you with the opposite side of the story, great, issue me the citation. But it seems like there should be some form of an investigation done, not just, you know, this parent made a complaint, so I'm going to believe everything they said, and the gym must be doing this, because one of the previous complaints was that we had a staff member travel, it was before the New Hampshire ban, travel and not quarantine. That's true, because quarantining wasn't the requirement, getting a test was. And I have an entire file of staff tests because they were somewhere. So again, just because somebody picks up the phone and says, I know my coach was just in Florida, that doesn't mean that they're not complying. So.
Okay, so I have a question for you. I guess, Shannon, of the documents that you requested, was one a copy of their contact tracing log?
I don't think so.
It's a copy. It's our rosters.
Yeah, no, there was the contact tracing was not requested.
No.
Okay, are you folks maintaining a contact tracing log?
Yes. So what we have, it's not a log like a paper log. So what happens is we have software, right? It's a gym program that manages a class, like any class would, a karate studio, anybody. And every day, whoever's in there for any given hour, attendance is taken. It's not on a sheet of paper that I could provide, but if I got a call, you know, tomorrow that said, hey, my daughter was in your gym on Monday and they tested positive, I would have the ability to go back into my software system, pull up the Monday, and get a full list of everyone that was in the gym at that given time. I don't know that that is something that I could print out. I've never tried to do such a thing. I do know that if I did that, it would be voluminous. But yes, we obviously would, you know, make sure that we know exactly who's at practice, so that if somebody does test positive, we can make the right notifications. I don't know if that answers your question.
It did. So you don't have a true contract tracing log that the children sign in, time out. It's more just done as if they were attending school and attendance tracking.
Yeah, they have the same schedule every week, like nothing changes. So if your team practices on Monday and Saturday, you're in at the same time. And then I could pull, like, you know, from Monday, this child was in the gym. And it would be a full attendance record of anybody that was in the gym at that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you could then probably pull an attendance log that also indicated state of residence.
I can pull it. What I gave to Natalie, what she's referring to, is instead of the contact tracing, we're not allowing any outside students. So I have those 600 something students. They're the only kids that are permitted. Like if a high school were to call me right now and say, can we take a tumbling class? We would tell them to call us back later when the guidelines were less or our capacity was greater. So I do have a list of all of the students and where they live. Yes, absolutely. And I don't have a problem providing that. My concern is I'm dealing with, again, competitive parents who I don't know that I can just give somebody the name of minors and their addresses without first telling the parents that I'm going to be giving their child's name to someone. Does that make sense? I think that's our concern.
Yeah, no, I identify with that.
Yeah.
I think that if the department should ever need to reach out for contact tracing, well, I guess for the question of students coming from New Hampshire, the only clear way to distinguish students that are in-state versus out-of-state would be that you had the ability to print the class attendance list and just simply list the name of the student and state of residence.
Yes.
Because with a travel ban or travel form, there is no requirement. I mean, it doesn't matter where in New Hampshire they live, just the fact that they live out of state.
Correct.
So just, and you're right, the license plates can be hard to determine people's actual residence, because there are Massachusetts residents that register their cars in New Hampshire, which is a different issue, but it could give the false appearance that you get a lot of people coming from New Hampshire. I guess I'm more concerned with what protocols you asking the parents to follow if the parents are no longer allowed to be in the practice facilities during a class.
What do they do?
What's been told to the parents do, not so much what they do, but what's been told to them, and not that you'd have a way of enforcing it, but what have your directions been to parents?
Are you asking the directions specific to the travel order, or are you asking just in general?
Just in general. I mean, because you don't want parents socializing out in the parking lot if they can't be socializing inside.
So fortunately, we just kind of, my office looks down over the parent room. So if I see that that's happening, I literally just go down there and say, hey, you can't be doing this. But fortunately, what I will say is it did occur in the warmer weather, I guess, a little bit. I was doing that kind of frequently, or one of us was going down there and saying, hey, you can't socialize. Fortunately, they were outside. It's really stopped now since the weather has cooled off. People aren't really getting out of their cars. And to be honest, the kids typically practice for a 2-hour time frame. So a lot of times they'll just simply go run errands. Maybe they drop their kid off and they go grocery shopping, or right now, probably Christmas shopping or something. If they do sit in the park, I have some parents that sit in the parking lot and they have a laptop in their car and they get some work done or whatever. But as far as we go, we have told our parents many things. As you know, some people listen and some people don't. So we just can keep saying it over and over. And I guess we have. These are the rules. You have to abide by them. And I think at the end of the day, if we had a customer that, it's like if we had a customer that wasn't doing what we were asking them to do, eventually over time, we'd say, hey, you can't do this sport in COVID because you can't understand how to follow instructions. But fortunately, we haven't got to that point. They basically drop off and then they go do their thing and then they pick back up. Some sit there. I have not seen them congregating, and we've definitely asked them not to do so.
Okay.
And just to address your point about what has been told to the parents with regard to the travel order as well. They were given specific instructions, and it was what Cassie had outlined is that you have two options. You either do the testing, or you go to Londonderry, and that's what's been done. So they had the option. Not everybody's happy about it. They're obviously, very upset about this, but that's, the rules are the rules. And
I will tell you that on the first night that the travel order went into effect, I put a staff member outside at pickup and drop off, which by the way is often every hour and a half. And I did have 3 parents who are absolutely from New Hampshire attempt to come in and drop off their kid. They were like, I missed all the information. I did a Zoom meeting. I did a Facebook Live. I emailed all of them. They have Facebook groups. I gave them all this information. These 3 people failed to read one bit of information that was sent their way, and they came in, and here they were. They had no test, and they did not come in. But I wouldn't, unless I was sitting out there. I don't, as a business owner, again, there's 600 kids. I don't know off the top of my head who lives where. I would have to look it up. So if I saw somebody getting dropped off, again, that's the problem. If they answer the questions, what do you do as a business? You just assume that your customer is telling you the truth. I don't know what else I would do. Not just about travel, but if they're feeling well, or if they're ill, or if they've been exposed. Hopefully they give honest answers, but you never know.
Okay, and then to Director Sawyer and Shannon, I know in previous conversations, at least that you and I, Susan, have had, it's my understanding that the Tewksbury Health Department is having to enforce regulations from the state that are new to COVID, and a lot of these are sort of issued or overseen by DLS, and that there is frequent, constant contact with DLS to, I guess, discuss the merits if a complaint has come in, or DLS would call you folks if a complaint has come in. And I think one of the challenges is that you're a department of 2 full-time people, and all these new regulations on top of everything else you're just trying to do, it's tough to handle everything. And a lot I think you've been relying on is if it's a complaint about a infraction or a potential violation of a COVID-19 related regulation that you folks have been asked to follow with no input, that you've been relying on DLS for their assistance and guidance, because they're sort of the go-to resources, if I'm correct.
Yep.
And I think in this case, as well as others, you're relying more on the recommendations of DLS as to what to do. And you folks don't have the time to conduct a full-depth investigation because there are numerous things you both are trying to do with just the 2 of you there.
Right.
That's correct. Yeah, this is one of those regulations that actually goes against a lot of our beliefs, in that, DLS and myself, we respond to complaints, and it is up to the person who is cited to prove their innocence. This is backwards. There's no time in a pandemic. We've been told, I'm not going to make this up, it's not me. We've been told there's no time in a pandemic to sit back. So when we get the complaints, we have to act. Most times, obviously, we'd like to go out and we'd love to, have an army and go around to every place, because the places that do get complaints will say, well, why me? I don't know why you, but you were the one we got complaints with, and we have to act. And DLS, sometimes they're there to help, sometimes they're not. They don't even rarely go out. They send their citations and go based on the complaint and their belief of validity of the complaint. Because I suppose that if we're just one complaint that it happened, that was a thing. This has been a lot of work for Shannon to try and figure this all out. And why are these people complaining? Why are multiple? And it's rare. Like I said, we've only given out 2 findings because it is our belief that we generally do the education. But the spirit of the travel, of the rules, the spirit was the governor wanted to keep people out. That is the intent. The governor didn't want to have people follow, but unfortunately, people do. So you get a human who wrote it, and you get the man who said, "This is what I want," and then someone says, "Well, I figured out how to get around that," and then they did it. So the spirit of that order was to say, stop coming down here, stop coming down, dropping your kids off, go shopping in our shops, go and get subs, and then come back. The spirit was, for that. So that is why we handle it the way we do, and that's all I'm saying. And you can tell it's emotional. It's been a long 10 months.
Right. And I'd like to just address, I don't want there to be the misunderstanding that obviously it's been a lot for the board to have to deal with. It's been a lot for the gym, to have to nobody. I mean, this is a lot. This has put burdens on everybody. Just speaking to the fact that there's a lot of the number of complaints. There are a lot of people who attend the gym. So, I mean, I guess it's just, you have to take that number into context, but it's being done in a safe manner. I think that, if the concern is to make sure that people are healthy and safe, having having 5 cases, positive cases, and no in-gym transmission, I think that speaks to the fact that this is a safe, activity, that this is a safe business practice, and it's a safe place to be. In terms of the limitations that the board has, and the resources to investigate these complaints, that's where it's incumbent upon the, and it lies on the relationship between the gym and you folks. If there's a complaint, if it's going to be presumed validity in these situations because it's a pandemic, I'm not so sure that they're presumed correct. I think that you take every complaint seriously, and then you turn around and then you say, okay, Cassie, who was it? There was a complaint that there was somebody in the gym, from out of state at such and such a time. Who was in there? Cassie will then furnish the information. It's not, I don't think, to suggest, for Shannon to have to go and drive and catch people in the, and see who's driving at any moment, and to see if I got you. This isn't sort of an I got you moment. This is a moment of who's in the gym and are the rules being enforced. And the gym is ready to assist in that, and to provide the information when asked. And if there's a complaint, reach out to Cassie, and she'll do that. I mean, that's all that we can say is that the gym saying it's providing a safe environment. There are a lot of people in the gym, but they're maintaining the requirements. I don't necessarily agree, and I'm not going to say what the governor's intention was to keep New Hampshire people out. I don't presume to know what the intention was. I think the intention was to, if you're going to come, you better be safe. You better not, keep your COVID out of state if you have COVID. But if they're testing, they can come. If they're employees, they're exempt. And there are situations where people from out of state can come in, but you got to comply with the rules. And the gym is committed to doing that. And we'll give you the information if there's a complaint and we'll give you the information to investigate your complaints.
No, I understand, and I am a New Hampshire resident, and just to let you know, I don't shop when.
See, you can come. You can be there. You're exempt.
No, I don't shop though, but I appreciate everything that you said, and
right.
Believe me,
we want to work. The gym wants to work with you. And we don't want to make, and if it somehow turned into this is a lot of complaints, and I'm sure you don't want to get all these complaints. You have other stuff to do. I get that,
So I won't speak for the board because I don't, but I don't know how to handle, or how do we explain to people when they tell us, that they know that you're doing wrong. And so, what could
so I can answer that.
I should let the board talk because it's really not up to me to make any offers. So
just to be clear though, I can answer that. If a person were to call and say there was somebody in here from out of state, again, exactly what Natalie said, I would have the ability at that point to give you a full list of the people that were in the gym at that time and what state they reside in. I have no issue doing that. I don't think that the people making the complaints have any idea of some of the stuff that we just talked about. So for instance, the first one that you got, I know who made the complaint. It was a father in the gym, and he got very angry because he drove up and he said there was all these New Hampshire plates. Well, myself and 3 other people happened to be parked next to each other. I also have an employee with a main plate. We were all parked next to each other, and the other parents in the parking lot told me he was all aggravated and he called. He doesn't know who's in the gym. He just made the assumption Here I am driving in, I see the out-of-state plates, I'm going to call and complain. So I feel like at that point, we would have had the ability to say, hey, these are the New Hampshire vehicles that someone saw. I own one, this staff member owns one, this staff member owns another, and it would have been over and done with. And I do understand that you have no way to get on the phone and investigate everything, but it's literally an email or a call saying, Cassie, we got a complaint. Can you provide information as to who was in the gym? The problem is they're not giving you a person. So like you said, and Shannon said to me before too, you're guilty until you can prove otherwise. That's great, but not only did the person make the complaint, so I'm guilty, they won't tell me who they're talking about. Who is it that violated the order? If somebody gave me a name, I could prove that the person wasn't there, or if they were there, why they were able to be there. But it's like where you violated the order, but we won't tell you by who and prove you didn't do it. How's anyone going to do that?
We wish they would call you, truly, instead of us.
I'm sure you do.
You could answer them better than we could. And that's what we deal with, though. It's like, if people get upset about someone not wearing a mask, we say, well, did you say anything to them? And they don't want to do that, but we're two people. We do the best we can. And
I understand.
I get it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Chairman, may I interject for a moment? What we're hearing is a tremendous amount of information on the operations of this gym. And the purpose that they're here tonight is to determine whether or not the board should uphold the fine that's been issued. Based on the evidence that's being presented, that's what's before the board this evening. And we are hearing all sorts of, let's call them allegations that the burden of proof has been shifted from one party to the other. I want to assure you that the burden of proof hasn't been shifted, okay? And generally what happens on an executive order is you don't have a legislature involved. When you don't have a legislature involved, you don't have any rules. You don't have anything to fall back on to make a determination. So here we are with an executive order that was promulgated by the governor, and we really have no structure in order to apply these facts to. Unfortunately, we have all of these facts. And in my opinion, the burden of production is on the board to first prove a violation. My feeling as a board member is we can't do that. We've heard a tremendous amount of information about confusion, that people don't understand the regulation, that there is no structure. And is that really surprising when an order pops out of, let's call it the oven, and is thrust upon the public, and there's no debate, there's no public hearing, there's nothing out there that would give anyone an inkling on what this actually means to a person in order to follow it. And then we project it interstate, and now we have a problem that we are forcing the Board of Health to arbitrate this tremendous amount of information. And frankly, it's a fairly simple determination. Did they violate the order? Has there been any evidence produced indicating that they violated the order? In my opinion, all we have is New Hampshire license plates in a parking lot. That simply is not the burden that's necessary for us to uphold a fine in this case. I will say that I think they are doing the best they can in trying to promulgate their own set of rules and enforce their own regulations and keep the peace amongst their customers. That's not our job. That's not why we're here. We're not here to arbitrate that dispute. We're here to give them some direction on preventing the spread of COVID-19. And all we can do is hopefully hold that they keep their distance, they wear their masks, and they try to comply with the regulations that the CDC has put out there. But in my opinion, we have failed to produce enough evidence to show that they are responsible for this fine. And I would just pass it along to the other board members to hear their thoughts on that as well. Remember our purpose here. The purpose is to determine whether or not we have met our own burden to determine whether or not we should be imposing this fine.
Mr. Chairman,
Go right ahead, Mr. Rue.
the last March, you and I had a little go around about this lack of attention paid for by our state representative regarding these meetings and the lack of the legislature actually acting on what I envisioned as laws being passed by Charlie Baker, independent of the legislature. And I recused myself at that time from all matters pursuant to the travesty is what's going on here. I don't know. We don't have the resources to do this, nor do I agree with many of the orders that he's put forward. But I would like to have Mr. Robinson at least listen to these meetings, as Mr. Baker seems to have a habit of referring to the fact that he hears from the boards of health around the Commonwealth regarding what we need to do to control this matter. And this is not one of the solutions that I've ever heard. So anyway, I still stand recused, but I felt necessary to comment. Thank you.
No, thank you. Any other board members? And Kevin, how about your opinion on this?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just yeah, this has been very enlightening to listen, and this is one of those situations where you're very empathetic to everyone involved, particularly in this case, Shannon and Susan, who are trying to, as other board members have said, you know, they're trying to interpret and enforce executive orders that have not been, you know, probably particularly well thought out, nor has there been enough guidance given as to what they are supposed to do. Now, if I was going to narrow down everything that I heard tonight, I would say that there are people from New Hampshire going to the gym, and that those 5 families who are not the 5 families, none of whom work at the gym, who are going from New Hampshire, all get tested in accordance with the relevant Massachusetts order. So it would be, you know, I think appropriate. I believe that the gym has said that they will produce that information to establish that that's what's been happening. And I think that when you look at a situation like this, what you're trying to do is get corrective action to the greatest extent possible, so that everyone complies to the greatest extent possible. So if the board were inclined to basically, you know, whether you want to table this or rescind the fine, or rather rescind the letter that was issued, pending receipt of that information, so that at least Susan and Shannon have it on file, I think that either of those acts would be appropriate, if that was the direction that the board wanted to go, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, and I think the challenging part is that we're trying to render a decision without, I guess you said, Mrs. Scurr, we're trying to be judge and jury without seeing any actual evidence, and it's all hearsay, but there's no thought given into how you actually handle a situation like this. To me, it seems like the simple solution would be there are allegations that there are people violating the travel ban, and I don't know what proof the gym would need to submit to the health department to show that that is not happening. But it seems like in order for us to rescind the letter, rescind the fine, we need to have some factual basis to do that on.
I don't know if this would be helpful. I don't have it in front of me, but I know that the night that the citation was delivered, it was the night after the complaint. And then there is a date and time on it. So so for instance, it says, I think it says 5 o'clock on the previous night is when we supposedly violated the travel order. We could pull our attendance for that time and day, and we would be happy to provide that.
I'm just looking at it from the standpoint that who's to say another parent might not, maybe even the same parent, call and have the same complaint again.
They probably will. That's our biggest concern.
Right. And it would be helpful for both sides if we had something that both the health department and you could sort of pull back or pull out and rely on to say, no, we were fine. And we can make the determination without seeing anything. So I think just having...
I think that what would be the easiest for me...
Cassie, can I just interject? I think that that's the point that I think what we're trying to make here is that above and beyond, and this is what Cassie's point is, above and beyond this violation that we're here today is that this is going, and Cassie said this is going to reoccur every time a parent makes a complaint and then a violation is issued and then it comes before the board to say, where's the proof? And I think that's the point we're trying to make is before the violation issues, upon the complaint, reach out to the gym, ask where's the proof, not come at this point where we're at the hearing. And there's no fault here. I mean, we're all trying to enforce orders, the gym, and enforce orders that nobody knows how to do. The gym's trying to tell people to go on a website that doesn't let the child's name get downloaded on the form. We're all trying to figure out these rules. But just to make clear that there needs to be a process so that when the complaint is made, date, time, the gym then, the board then throws it on the gym to say, these are the allegations, provide the proof that it didn't have. I mean, we can talk about who's got the burden and whatnot, but if there's a request to the gym, it then becomes incumbent upon the gym to say, this is the information. And then if the allegations are credited, we come a citation issues, and then we come before the board. The board now has the evidence and has the information that says this is the proof that shows that there was a violation, not, question. There's no evidence right now. And we sort of feel, and the gym feels that it's in a position to have to defend itself against allegations and complaints, not substantiated violations. And we know it's frustrating to have to deal with the complaints. People are what they are, but the gym will provide that and we can work with them. But the concern is that there's going to be more of these violations and we're going to be here more than we should.
Mr.
May
Chairman,
I
I have a
interject
question
one more
for Mr. Feely.
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Feely. Oh, no, I was just going to say, Mr. Feely, am I correct in that since this is a fine with the court, that basically tonight we're talking about upholding this letter, but they still need to sign the back of that and appeal the fine to the court, in which case we would have time to gather that information if the board so deems, and then we could advise the court.
Well, I would
Yeah,
no, I would suggest that if this is going to be appealed in court, the time to do that, then the point would, if we were in court, we'd be in a position where it would then be, the board would have to then say, would be the party trying to enforce the violation, and the court would say, what evidence do you have as a board to support these allegations? And we would be the ones to be able to sit back, because as the violation having been issued and you're enforcing your order, you'd have the burden of proof. So, right, and you don't have the information yet.
That's not what I was saying. I was saying if you sign the back of the ticket, tell me if I'm wrong, Mr. Feely, that goes in, has to be within 21 days, then they will set a date And if the board is satisfied by that time, then the Board of Health can then ask for, I don't know the right word, to rescind it or to, what's the word? I don't know, to get rid of it. So I'm just saying we had that time if the board wanted to, but they have to sign that and send it in within a certain amount of time. Is that correct, Mr. Feely?
That would be based on how the violation, how the ticket reads. Yes, Susan, that would be that would be correct. So the question becomes, what happens if nobody does that? Well, it is still sitting out there. The fine is still technically sitting out there. So we
don't want that.
So again, we're treading on somewhat unproven ground right now. But again, it seems to me that if at some point, if the board were to issue, vote and issue a letter that says that they voted to rescind the fine, and that were to be submitted to the court after it was appealed, that would conclude it, in my view.
Okay, thank you.
I think for me, I know this question was asked before, but I think for me, from moving forward, how to stop it from continually happening, not just to me and my business partners, but to Shannon and Susan as well. If the complaint comes in, what I'm struggling with is not being able to offer a reason, or because I don't know who it is. I have no information to defend against. So I wish that when a complaint came in, you could say to the caller or the person, you're not providing enough information. Can you tell me who is violating the travel order? What person do you think is in there that doesn't belong in there? Because in some cases, I guarantee you, there's just parents in there and they don't know where, and they might know where their friend lives. They don't know where everybody lives. Again, they're just your answer is probably going to be, oh, I have no idea who, I just saw some plates. And then you would have the ability to say, they have some exempt vehicles. I don't know. I just feel like if somebody said, well, this child was in there and they're from New Hampshire, I can either show you that the child wasn't in there, or that they actually don't in fact live in New Hampshire, or that they were in there legally. I don't know if that makes sense, but it just seems like all of our lives would be a lot easier.
It does, but some people can anonymously leave complaints to our office and not give a callback number. So sometimes we don't even get to talk to them. And then other times they're submitted to DLS and we get them forwarded down to us from them. So the complaints don't even come directly to us, which is the case that
it seems like in the two that you sent us that were in the correspondence, you were able to have conversations with them. I think though. So I'm sure you're right, but I don't think that's all of them.
The one that started this is what started the whole travel order, was Sunday, November 22nd, and then again on, I think it's Monday the 30th.
Yeah,
saying that practices are resuming today as scheduled with all New Hampshire math athletes in attendance.
Right, but that's just flat out false. So I think if the person had said that,
so those are really the two dates then that would.
So we can give you, it's November 22nd and Monday November 30th.
Yes.
Okay, so we can give you our gym attendance for those 2 days. We don't have a problem doing that. I might either have to ask those parents or tell them that I'm giving out their child's name and address, or I would just maybe rescind the child's last name or something, but I could certainly provide you with the residence.
I don't know if we would need the names or just the addresses.
Okay.
I would suggest the state. Just the first name, last name, and state should be it, because you're just trying to determine, are they a Massachusetts resident or an out-of-state resident?
Okay.
So the actual mailing address should be moved. It's just state of residence.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should make a motion to at least curtail the amount of information that's coming in. And if we're going to suspend this or table it pending further information that the violator would like to have entertained by the board to address the allegations, I think they should have that time to do that We should give them ample time to do that. We should set a date certain that they produce the information, and that once the information is produced, we should consider the full record prior to making a decision whether to move in the direction or uphold it.
Right. So I'm not going to, if I just make a point? I'm not trying to interject and belabor this and make it more complicated than it is, but I feel like, again, so the date to appeal it in the court is next week. I believe it's next Wednesday, if we were to appeal this in court. Just to be clear well, we want to provide this information to the board, separate and distinct, but is there a way we could maybe put this down to a warning? I mean, I think that the issue is that there's a violation that's been found here without information. And I just think that as a board and as setting precedent, a violation means you have conclusive evidence to say something happened. And I think if anything we can agree on is that right now, the board doesn't have that information. We're agreeing to provide it. So if we can say, if it maybe can be, we can make a request and say, instead of rescind, can we, I don't know if it can even happen, to make this a warning, and then we provide you with the information so that it hasn't been found that that the gym has done something when the proof hasn't yet been determined.
Well, I'd like to respond to that. We're not making any findings of fact because we don't have enough information to make a finding of fact on.
Okay.
That's why we're asking you and through your client to provide us with the information so we can make a finding of fact. Because no matter where this goes, that's what the reviewing authority, whether it's a court or anyone else, will look at. They want to look at our findings. I said earlier, I'm not sure we could make findings on the evidence that's before us this evening. I think it's reasonable to give you the opportunity to provide those records that you were talking about so we can make findings of fact. If you actually have this information that indicates the child in the state, and you have other information that indicates that New Hampshire plates are people that are exempt from this travel order, those are the two missing pieces of information for us to make findings of fact. So I think it's in your best interest to provide that information, and we may very well not be able to go forward because of the information that you provide. And at that point, I think the board would be able to consider whether or not there should be a warning and an educational experience moving forward on how to deal with the travel ban. But right now, we do not have the information necessary to make a finding one way or the other, and we're asking to table this for time certain so you can provide it. And then once you provide it, I think we could have you make the argument, and we could consider your argument in whether or not this goes forward, is upheld, or is rescinded.
Okay. Again, we're not disputing that we've been, from the beginning, I've said that we're willing to provide this information. The gym has this information, and we want to engage in this conversation and disclosure of information. So we're not disputing that.
All right. So I'm back to my motion, and I don't know if the board wants to have further discussion before I make this motion. I'm going to give them that opportunity.
I guess my question would be for you, Kevin, with what was just discussed. Are we okay doing this and knowing that there is the deadline for responding to the ticket coming up next week?
Yes, I think the way the approach that Bob was just suggesting is fine, Ray, and it probably is. If it's not only the best, it may be the only reasonable way to act now, because once the appeal of the ticket is filed, there will still be time before that appeal would be heard, so the board can decide what action, if any, to take once the information is received.
Okay, so the gym still needs to appeal that ticket then?
We will.
Okay.
And
So both can happen in parallel.
I would only say that the court, if it doesn't have the requisite findings, it would be remanded back to our board for these findings because they can't review it unless there's something to review. That means an official record. Right now, that's what we're trying to compile, is an official record so that we can make an informed decision to go one way or the other. And if in an event it was appealed, that the reviewing court would actually have a record to consider. So I would just pass that off to Kevin to see whether he agrees with that.
I agree completely, Bob.
Okay, so Bob, do you want to just restate your motion?
Sure. I'm going to ask that we continue this matter to a date certain to allow the folks in front of us to assemble the evidence necessary to challenge the complaint or the allegations in this matter that support a fine, so that we can consider that information, make findings of fact, and render a decision. I would ask that they have, over the holiday, would you suggest the next regular scheduled meeting, Mr. Chairman? Because I'm not sure we have a January meeting.
Can we make the motion and stop that before you go into that next thing? Did it end at assemble the evidence?
Sure.
And
assemble the evidence.
Continue this matter to allow the folks in front of us to assemble the evidence. And what was the end of that?
And consider the evidence. Consider the evidence to make a decision.
Okay, thank you. Is someone going to second that, and so or then you guys can talk?
I will second that motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Turn on the motion.
Maria.
And just as a matter of discussion, Susan, the calendar that's in front of us, maybe you can enlighten us on the dates that we might be able to reassemble and that they might be able to comply.
I believe the regularly scheduled is January 21st, I believe. Looks like that's the regularly scheduled unless you want to do something different.
Yeah, the 21st is our scheduled meeting.
And Mr. Chairman, do you have a date in mind whether they should submit?
Yeah.
Unless Kevin states otherwise, I would say I think we'd be fine just holding it at our next scheduled meeting.
But the submission
that's
you
not
want
fine with me.
You'd like to have the information in advance so Susan and the sanitarian can compare notes and put this together for the board, correct?
Correct.
Yes, the agenda generally closes at 10 days prior, but you know, as long as you get it in reasonable time for you to get it, that's usually what we do 10 days prior.
Is that okay with the proponent?
But if they need a few other days.
I mean, it seems like they would just need to have the information submitted to the department by Monday, January 4th. Then that gets them past the holidays.
That would give you all time to review it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a first and a second, and did you end up voting yet?
Not yet. No, we open it for
Okay.
discussion.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, so I can't make a motion to amend the motion, but if someone can make the motion to amend the motion to ask that the requested information be submitted to the department by Monday, January 4th.
Since I made the motion, I'm going to amend it to include that information. The motion's going to remain exactly the same with a compliance date of January 4th for the submittal of all information necessary for the board to consider in this matter.
Okay, who'd like to second that motion?
I will second that motion.
Okay. Motion's been put forth and seconded to, I will not restate the entire motion. All those in favor of signify. Yeah, as amended. We'll take a roll call vote. So Vice Chair Scarano,
Aye.
Clerk Zaroulis,
Aye.
Mr. Rue,
I'm going to recuse myself, Raymond, out of principle.
that's okay. Chair votes aye, so motion carries unanimously 3-0 with one abstaining. Okay. So East Liberty Elite will, well, hold on a sec. So East Liberty Elite will just be asked to provide the requested documentation or backup or to the department by Monday, January 4th. And then we'll take this back up at our next meeting.
Right. Just to clarify by the 4th, so the complaints that we've received, the complaints, and they were provided to us, the dates that were received, like November 5th, November 13th, and those dates, those are the dates that you're seeking specific information to refute. These are the allegations. These are the complaints that you want the evidence, the information to refute, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
No, it's the dates of, so the travel order.
Yeah, I just want those dates if you can, Shannon. I just so that I can be clear, because I want to make sure that where everybody's on the same page of what's going to be provided.
November 22nd,
Yep.
and then on Monday the 30th.
Monday the 30th. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, Kevin, for that.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, moving on to director reports.
Oh, where are we?
COVID.
COVID. So Irvia is still out. Shannon has taken over as best we can to understand Irvy's personal, program that she uses to use the Maven numbers and put it in there and figure out the numbers. We're not claiming it's 100% because it's, you grab everything in Maven and you put it into this wonderful thing that her husband built. And my cat just really wants to join me. He's bothering me. I guess what I'm saying is, do you have an idea where the numbers are right now? I think they're pretty high.
Oh, I ran them again, and it looks like it's 100 higher than it was yesterday. Active cases. It went from 410 to 510. But, I mean, it's a lot of household spread, so, I mean, that's mostly the problem. People say they don't know where they got it, but who really knows? The state hospitals, they're having more cases again as well. It's mostly community spread.
And unfortunately, Oblate has had 23 cases and some deaths. I believe it was 4 last I heard. Very sad. So we're doing our best to try and do Irvy's job, and we do have some volunteers.
Well, Susan, I'd like to ask you this question because I know I've talked to you about a different situation that I alerted you to earlier this afternoon about 12 or 13. If you could just review for everyone briefly, what are the requirements for business in terms of notifying the health department if they have staff that have tested positive? And then what about other facilities where it's not so much employees, but people that are patrons or members that would be positive?
I won't speak for Shannon. We both get complaints. I would say we are getting a lot of employers understanding the rules to call us and tell us about their positive employees. Then we will go over the, the contacts at the site, whether or not there needs to be closure or cleaning or anything like that. And what's interesting is I think most employers seem to be wanting to even go beyond what the COVID rules say. Majority of them seem to, they're like, oh no, 10 days is not enough, or no, I'm going to close for 3 days instead of 1, or so they do seem to adopt their own policies as well, which is perfectly fine. They can exceed that. Not as many. I don't know. Until recently, I have not gotten patron positives from the businesses. We've got positives that say they're patrons, but patron isn't there very long generally. At least with the governor, they're not supposed to be now. 90 minutes, right? What do you think, Shannon? I think it's. Do you think we're hearing about positive patrons going?
No. And people, since I've been calling positive cases too, a lot of people are, first of all, reluctant to give me any sort of information at all, let alone as to where they were. So
true, that's true.
So the one thing I will just mention
they are reluctant.
is in the situation that I alerted you to, Susan, the person that alerted me, that person was extremely concerned that so many people tested positive in a very short period of time. They were surprised at how rapidly it spread.
I looked at that list and I have spoken to a few, and none of the information that you gave was disclosed to me during our phone calls. They say, quote unquote, I don't know where I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, as the numbers are really spiking, it makes it almighty difficult to try to understand where is it coming from.
Right. Like we got over 20 cases overnight last night. Like I log off, say it's 5, and I go on at 8, and there's 20 plus cases just in that time period.
Now, if you know about CTC, the Community Tracing Collaborative, they had lessened their staff, and they've been trying to come back, and I guess they have 500 in training right now. So I think their caseload they're getting like 3,500 cases a day, and only thing they could really do is modify their calling and questioning. So now their surge questioning is really basically, what's your email? I'll send you the information. Did you have any contacts? And if you don't even talk to them, they'll just leave that same message and they'll only call once. So there just is not enough time at this point. And I feel, other states have taken an alternative view, how they're following. They're only doing the younger ones and older ones. We're doing that as best, what we're trying to use, the same thing. We're trying to really focus on the children and schools, things like that. Right, Jan?
Right. We barely have time to get to the positive cases, let alone if someone doesn't answer to call them back. So we're definitely not getting to the contacts.
Which unfortunately means that contact tracing is sort of a moot point at this point, because either you can't get a hold of someone or they're not forthcoming with the information, and the numbers are skyrocketing. It's sort of, you can't plug a leaky dam with a finger.
Right.
No, but we are available for anyone who wants to talk and ask questions. But
and
phone calls are vaccines now. Now it's all vaccine.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So
the
let's talk
question
more
I have.
positive. Good.
That's the question I have is when, if at any time, will the town be involved in vaccination for their most vulnerable residents? And fielded, I think, 3 calls this week from concerned children for their elderly parents, and whether or not there'll be a priority, and what's the town's plan to coordinate those vaccinations?
No, as normal, the local level and local public health is not at the table with these discussions. So we're not going to sit back on our laurels. We're going to bring up as much plans. We don't think we're going to get much personally, but we still want to be prepared to do that. The CVS's, they're going to be, CVS's, Walgreens, they're going to be going into our nursing homes as early as next week, which is great. And then the second tier, when it comes to that, we've had no direction at all of what we've been told not to buy freezers. So there's not that expectation that we're going to have a lot of vaccine on hand. There's just going to be everyone who wants to give it, every doctor who wants to be on the vaccine list, those doctors who have opted out of vaccines for all these years, they're welcome back. And I know that they can do that. They want all hands on deck. This is not just the local Board of Health. But there's no answer to the question yet, Bob.
Oh, thank you for responding to that, Susan.
So, Bob, I will add to that. So, Bob, I will just add to not what we're doing Tooks, but my mother lives at retirement complex up in Peabody, and that facility has made arrangements with the local CVS that they'll actually go door to door and provide vaccines to the residents there. So
that's awesome.
That was something that was not done through their health department. That was done through the property management working with CVS. So I don't know. I do know CVS and Walgreens have agreements to handle some virus or vaccine distributions. I'm not sure if they would even reach out to Susan and Shannon and inform you of what their plans were in town, or if that's facilities have to make those requests.
We have not been contacted.
Nothing stops an actual resident from checking in with CVS and or their children checking in with CVS and determining whether or not there isn't some reach out by Walgreens and CVS. So that's what I think I'd recommend to these folks.
And probably just ask them their personal position first.
Yeah. You can sign up for an alert system, and there's a state alert system on vaccines. You can go to mass.gov and sign up. We're putting that on our website.
Okay, great.
Yeah, actually, thank you for emailing us that link. I think it was yesterday, Susan?
Probably.
The day before. I did sign up for that, so that was good.
Oh, good. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. It's wonderful. I can't believe at the end of the year we're talking vaccines. I just wish the governor would let off on, the other parts of this, because it's just, we don't have the energy to slip right into vaccines if they don't let up on this part. But as far as the planning too, so I'm assembling a team. So we have 3 or 4, maybe 4 RC nurses, 1 pharmacist that are, we're trying to get them positioned to help, not just for vaccines, but for now, and then kind of stay on. Those are volunteers, and then we also have a few that are paid out of the COVID funds right now, helping, especially when Irby is gone. But we want to keep them on. We're trying to, anyone who wants to sign up, Richard says sign them up. So.
Well, thank you for that. And then you also had some staffing updates.
Oh, yeah. So wanted to, I don't know if I'm the one who's supposed to say this, but Shannon Sullivan has now been named the next Director of Public Health and should be taking charge January 11th, right? Is that the right day?
Yep, that's the right thing.
Everybody? Yay. So I just want to congratulate her on that.
That's great news. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And there is a job description out for a town health agent, which is just a renaming of Shannon. So if you know anyone who's interested, it's open till filled for a health agent. Everything else is pretty the same.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And don't worry, I'd already congratulated Shannon early because I was aware of what was happening. But congratulations again.
Thank you.
Okay, board reports. I'm assuming, Maria, that Tewksbury Cares is not met at all?
No, Tewksbury Cares is on hiatus.
Okay. And then I think it looks like you have just a couple of quick announcements.
Yeah, just a couple of things about, it is permit renewal time. Lisa's handling that. And then also that we do still have flu. We have flu vaccine available, and we have nurses that available for homebound or appointment in the office. So we just need, anyone wants to call. We have high dose and regular still. So anyone slip through the cracks, we send them our way.
Great. And then you also had 2 reminders up about permit renewal due dates.
Yeah, just basically, so you know what's next. Permit renewals, 131 on January 31st. Installers and septic haulers and awful haulers are due, and tobacco, body art, and practitioners, apprentices are due at the end of the year. So working on those.
Okay. And then I'm going to look to see if I can invite our 2 state representatives to join us at our January meeting. Because there are a lot of things happening at the state level, and I'd just like them to understand what our concerns are, and both with the COVID regulations as well as the vaccines. And I know, Mr. Root, you've wanted a chance to speak with them, so I think I will look to see if they can join us at a January meeting.
Mr. Chairman, if I might recommend maybe a few of the board members, without convening a quorum, might want to prepare either some bullet points or other questions so that they have them in advance and are prepared to actually address the concerns of the board members and even any of the citizens that might reach out to the board members who might want to reflect on that with a state representative.
So let me first make sure that they would be able to join us for our January 21st meeting. And if so, then we'll make a solicitation for questions that I can then send to them. And I can let them know that when I see if they're available for the 21st. Because that would make it a more productive meeting if they know what to expect we're going to be asking.
Good solution.
Okay. Perfect. So, Mr. Wu, I think it's time for your motion.
Mr. Chairman, at 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 45 seconds, I'd like to make a motion to close tonight's meeting.
Okay.
I'm gonna second that
Second.
15 seconds later.
2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Come on, make it 22.
Okay, so you'd like to, I think a motion has been made to adjourn tonight's meeting and not have us meet till next year. So motion has been seconded.
I second the motion.
Okay. Motion's been put forth and second to adjourn tonight's meeting. We'll take a roll call vote. Vice Chair Scarano.
Yay.
Clerk Zeroulas.
Yay.
Mr. Rue.
Aye.
And chair votes aye as well. So motion carries unanimously 4-0. So it is 8:22 p.m. So good night, Tewksbury, and happy holidays, everyone.